Before we get started, I'm very well aware that the Bionicle story and wider lore are covered with much more detail in the novels, web games, movies, and much more. This is a comics channel though, for the most part, and so for this video and future videos, I'm just sticking to what the comics cover. Feel free to talk about how the story is expanded upon outside of these comics, but please be assured that I am aware of the broader world. I did not forget anything here. I'm simply sticking to my roots and talking about comics. Also, most of these character names are either made up or loosely based on existing Maori words, some of which are no longer in use due to plagiarism, such as Tohunga and Wahi. We're all going to pronounce these words differently, so please don't get so held up if I say something slightly different than you. As for those words that are no longer canonically used, I'll be talking about things as they appear in the comic, even if they are dropped later on in the lore. Surprisingly, I did not grow up with superheroes. I knew about characters like Superman, Spider-Man, Batman, and more, but they were never really a part of my life. Because of this, comics were also very absent from my childhood. Don't get me wrong, I had a great upbringing, and I had plenty of vices to keep me busy, such as Lego. Within that world, though, me and my brothers were fully immersed with the world of Bionicle. You better believe that every new wave of this toy line, me and my brothers were furiously reading through the mail-in magazines, picking out which toy we wanted next. All of them. We wanted all of them. Absolutely. During this time, I knew what comics were, but I guess I wasn't very interested in the broader world of comics. I read the Bionicle comics, and that's about it. To me, there was nothing else besides those, and so I thought, why not return to my roots and cover these comics and discuss the good, the bad, and ultimately, how they shaped my life and this channel. So for our first step into the Bionicle world on this channel, let's dive into the first few years of this world, starting way back in 2001. Washing up on the shores of an ancient island of Mata Nui, we follow along as a mysterious character slowly builds himself following his canister opening. He mentions that he has slept for a long time, and his dreams have been dark. But the darkness cannot stand before him. This is Kopaka, the Toa of Ice. Surprisingly, this warrior of the island has not yet learned of his destiny to protect the inhabitants, as he immediately attacks one of the local Tohunga, or more commonly known as Matoran, named Matoro. I know, a lot of similar sounding words here. Keep with me. Kopaka is amazed both by his power over the element of ice and his ability to see through objects granted to him by his Kanohi mask. Matoro tells Kopaka of his own tale, one that matches the dark dreams once held inside the canister on the beach. There is a connection here. Kopaka feels that this is his destiny. These people have been waiting for him. But there are other masks of power that must be retrieved in order to defend the island, something that Matoro relays from the village elder, the Turaga named Nuju. Kopaka reluctantly listens and follows along, annoyed by the riddles of these people. Not far behind, a beastly creature known as a Nuirama attacks these two wanderers. Infected by a dark power, these beasts, or Rahi as they are known, have succumbed to the evil hand of Makuta, a dark spirit who reigns terror over the island of Mata Nui. All of this is explained in full by Turaga Nuju, who has come to see the Toa of Ice himself, the savior of their village, and one of 6 heroes promised to protect their lands. Beyond their brief meeting, Kopaka is interrupted in his quest to find his next great mask by the ever-chatty Pohatu, the Toa of Stone. The two instantly are able to work together as they are kindred spirits, brothers, even though they don't quite know it just yet. Kopaka is less than eager to work alongside another in his own quest, claiming that he will be able to accomplish his task faster if done so alone. But Pahatu, ever the optimist, continues to tag along until Kopaka retrieves what he was hunting, the mask of shielding, which morphs into his own, granting him the power of protection. But someone else is nearby. A group of allies? Or a band of enemies? Kopaka and Pahatu ready themselves for whatever may come next. This is the tale of Mata Nui, as it has been told for so many years. In the time before time, when the world was new, the great spirit Mata Nui descended from the skies like a burning star. He walked the world and marveled at its beauty, and watched over all living things. But Mata Nui had been followed by his brother, the dark spirit Makuta. Makuta coveted this world and all that his brother had. Makuta cast a spell that made Mata Nui sleep. Then, Makuta claimed the world, and darkness and death were everywhere. Yet all was not lost. The great being sent 6 mighty heroes, the Toa, to Mata Nui. 6 heroes with one destiny, to defeat Makuta and save our world. The Toa will need all their power, for Makuta lives to destroy. The Toa of air, Lewa, and the Toa of water, Gali, swing through the jungles of Le Koro. Gali is surprised that the waters here are not her ally. They seem angry to her, unfamiliar in a way. Lewa is not amused by the arrival of the other Toa. He, like Kopaka, would prefer to work alone, something that Gali disapproves of. They may be strangers, but they all have the same task to save the island of Mata Nui. Gali fears that the strength alone will not be enough to stop the evil Makuta. His dark grasp holds the seas, the land, and the air, and of course, the Rahi of the island who viciously attack Gali in her own territory. Turaga Nakama, the elder of Ga Koro, the tribe of water, narrates to us as Gali fights against Makuta's dark hand. She mentions that Makuta has underestimated these Toa, believing them to be pretenders. Perhaps so many years in the darkness has even blinded the Master of Shadows. Gali is able to trap the corrupted Rahi in a deep underwater cave, wondering to herself if any corner of the island is truly safe while under Makuta's influence. Turaga Matau, the elder of Le Koro, the tribe of air, tells us the story of Lewa. Much to Lewa's dismay, the Mask of Speed was housed underwater, the very place he had hoped it was not. The water was an issue for Lewa. Why swim when you could soar through the skies, especially with his mask of levitation? Rahi are no problem for the Toa of air, but water? Lewa struggles to free himself from the deep, but does so successfully and is rewarded with the Mask of Speed, allowing himself to exit the depths quickly without too much conflict. Gali, on the other hand, faces her own struggles outside of the comfort of the ocean. High atop a mountain, she finds herself falling just a few feet before the Mask of Levitation is in her grasp. As she plummets downwards, she is able to clutch the mask and use its power to slow her fall, only to find 2 Rahi waiting for her arrival. Lewa too faces dangers amongst the skies as more corrupted Rahi interrupt his time in the tops of the trees. Both of our heroes are facing the dangers of Makuta's dark hold over this island. I am the shape in the shadows. I am the darkness in the heart of Mata Nui. I live in the dread stories told by the Turaga around the village fires. The dark creatures, the Manas, the Rahi, are my servants. I am Makuta. Those who dare to challenge me, as the Toa have done, will be defeated. In this final chapter for the 2001 story of Bionicle, we follow Makuta's thoughts as he watches the Toa escape his grasp time and time again. Leiwa narrowly survives a battle with a corrupted Rahi thanks to his brother, the Toa of Earth, Onua. Gali, saved by her brother Tahu, Toa of Fire. The Toa of Motunui have joined forces and now know that their strength is unmatched when together. Gali, in the depths of the water, is granted a vision of Waruha and Akamai, the Toa Kaita. These beings are in fact the 6 Toa themselves combined together into 2 beings of great power. These combined forms of the Toa will be instrumental in the destruction of Makuta's dark grip over the island. But the Toa are still somewhat on the fence about working together. Well, at least a few of them, like Kopaka and Leiwa. But Onua, ever the wiser, is able to show that combining their skills can indeed save the island, as he and Leiwa are able to redirect a dangerous flow of lava away from a nearby village. Gali, Kopaka, Tahu, and Pohatu all work together as well to dispatch more corrupted Rahi, and of course gives us this awesome visual of Tahu turning a sandstorm into a wall of glass in the heat of battle. Tahu is saved from certain doom when his brother Onua catches him, a reminder that he still needs to collect his own mask of levitation. Gali, unprotected without her mask of shielding, shows us that the strength of the water is never outmatched, even by the great Makuta. She is protected by the elements of the island. Onua too, demonstrating his strength to dispatch even the Rahi of the skies, puts fear into Makuta's mind as he realizes he has finally met his match, the combined forces of the Toa Mata. As we spoke in the disclaimer of this video, there's a lot more detail to the story of Bionicle. The books and games capture in much more minute detail the going-ons of the island of Motunui, as well as the final confrontation of the Toa Mata and Makuta himself. But I want to remind you that at this time in the franchise's history, LEGO was going for a broad multimedia approach to this franchise. There are some inconsistencies between book, comic, game, and more, but for the most part, they all follow the same path. For me personally, the comics act as somewhat as an abridged version of events, fully canon, but condensed for the medium. Growing up, I did read the books and play the online games, but I never felt as if the comics were lacking. They simply were another way to engage with the story. Because of this truncated angle, though, the characters in this comic series unfortunately do not get much time to be, well, actual characters. Tahu, the leader of the Toa Mata and one of the most important characters to the Bionicle world, is noticeably absent for the majority of these first 3 issues. Kopaka, Leiwa, and Gali enjoy the spotlight most of all, leaving Onua and Pohatu as almost side characters in their own story. Again, shrinking the first stories of the Toa Mata into 3 issues of a comic is a task I do not envy, but that doesn't mean I won't point out some of the pitfalls. I do enjoy this run of the comic though, as I feel it does an excellent job setting up the world and the stakes to the franchise. We quickly learn that the Toa are best when together, but that they have reservations about each other. Sometimes it's not easy working with people like yourself. Each has their own task to find the legendary masks of power, which will eventually lead them to fighting together and destroying Makuta. If you want to learn more of the detailed versions of these events, then I highly suggest using the Bionicle wiki known as Biosector 01, or even finding a read-through of the novels here on YouTube. Now, the art shown off in these early years of Bionicle is nothing short of immaculate. Penciler Carlos de Anda and inker Randy Elliott have done an immaculate job showing us the details of Motunui and its inhabitants. The Toa and other characters are portrayed so masterfully in a way I feel no other media of Bionicle has been able to achieve this well. Everybody looks both mechanical and biological at the same time. Pistons, rods, gears, and such are drawn with such dense mechanical detail, and yet the larger portions of characters like arms and legs, and even their masks, have a very distinct, organic, almost smooth look to them as well. To me, this is the most Bionicle anything has ever looked in the franchise, even past the toys themselves. Later years, we will see different artists take on the design language with a more unique approach, and we cannot deny that the style of the characters themselves shifted over time with the release of newer toys. But still, to me, this is the greatest era of Bionicle comics when it comes to the art. Colorist Peter Pentazis also does an amazing job bringing the colors of the island and its elements to the page, distinctly showing us the differences between our heroes and the powers that they wield. Of course, like my main focus on the channel here, Transformers, these Bionicle comics ultimately serve one great purpose: to sell toys. I don't say this as an insult or a knock against the creators, but simply a factor into why, at this time, the comics were not treated as the definitive storytelling device. Comics are expensive to make. Printing novels is much more cost-friendly, especially for a new franchise coming from a company that was on the brink of destruction at the time. You can tell that there was more to this franchise than just the comics, as many of the pages of these issues were dedicated to ad space for the official Bionicle website, where you could learn more about the ins and outs of the universe. As time moved on, the Bionicle comics became more and more comprehensive. They soon became the primary storytelling device in my own household, while the novels almost became expanded editions of the stories, giving myself, more and more detail from an already fun adventure. Upon deciding to cover Bionicle, I asked myself if I wanted to dive deeper into that broader universe, touching on the relationships between characters like the Toa in more detail as seen in the novels, or even the inclusion of other major characters like Takua, Niparu, Huki, and more as they would become major players in the story later. Ultimately, I decided just to stick with the comics for two reasons. Number one, this is, for the most part, a comics channel, and I wanted to stay on brand. And number two, sometimes it's nice to not get too tied down in the weeds of a larger universe and just enjoy some simple issues of it. I left the Bionicle community years ago. In fact, my very first YouTube channel that I ever had many years ago was Bionicle focused. The reason I left came to a point where if you didn't know every single detail about the most obscure character, you would get called out. Every community has this problem, don't get me wrong. Transformers has it too, but for Bionicle, this rang true doubly so for myself. And that's because I was that person. I was the annoying fan who would always speak up and say, actually, they were originally called the Tohonga before they ran into legal trouble with the Maori government and had to change the name to Motoran. Immense knowledge on a fictional universe is not a sin, but rather, it's a gift. It should be celebrated, not used as a weapon of condemnation against those who have not studied as hard as yourself. For me, covering these comics, and these comics only, is somewhat of a cleansing act, to allow myself to speak on a franchise that I've held so close to my heart in a casual way. Rest assured, I know the little ins and outs of the world, but even still, if I didn't, or I've forgotten some of it, which I most likely have, it doesn't really matter all that much. Fictional worlds should be enjoyed by all in whatever capacity they can allow themselves. In today's world, we need more unity. We need to focus on our own duties, and of course, together, we can all be part of a great destiny. Hey there. I know, a non-Transformers video from Delta Tryon. I know. If you're just so upset that I'm doing this, then I want to invite you to my Discord server. You can get access to it through Patreon. It's just $1 to get in. It's a great, loving community. You can come yell at me for not covering Transformers in there. We do game nights. We do movie nights. We do, polls. We talk about the new comics and Transformers and the Energon universe that come out monthly. It's a really fun, great time, and I'd love to see you guys there. So there's a link down below on how to join. I hope to see you in there, and I will see you on another Bionicle video that's coming out, when it's done. We got to cover all these comics, so see you then.